Shalom everybody, and welcome to Beit Tefillah. Today I'm going to do another short video about the question that I get asked quite a bit. Should women keep silent in the assemblies, as Paul seems to write about in his first letter to Corinth? I've had a lot of questions lately about this subject, so we're going to take a look at this today, and we'll find out that it's absolutely not based on Torah. So let's read what Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians 14, 34-35, where we can hear about it. Let your women be silent in the assemblies, for they are not allowed to speak, but let them subject themselves, as the Torah also says. If they wish to learn whatever, let them ask their own husbands at home, for it is improper for women to speak in an assembly. Wow, that's just all kinds of wrong in my opinion. Okay. But first of all, we need to realize that these are letters that Paul was writing, in this case to the people of Corinth, to a particular assembly. We don't see what Paul was written about. All we see is Paul's reply. So it's kind of like being in a room and hearing a one-sided phone conversation. You're in a room and a friend of yours is on the phone, and it sounds crazy because you can only hear what your friend is saying. You don't know what the person on the other end is saying. So when they get off the phone, you got to say, what was that all about? Well, this is something similar to it. We don't know what Paul was asked. There may have been a lot of craziness going on over in this particular assembly in Corinth, and Paul was just saying something to just say, everybody sit down and relax, because maybe they were trying to teach and everything was getting out of control. I don't know what was going on, but as for women being silent in the assemblies, no, he just can't make up a command, okay? So we don't know what he was just advising people. If he was ahead of certain assemblies and he was advising them and how to walk in the way, we don't know for what reasons he said what. But like I said, it's like hearing a one-sided phone conversation. What jumps out at me from Paul's letter to Corinth is this part. For they are not allowed to speak, but let them subject themselves, as the Torah also says. Excuse me? Not sure where that came from or how he interpreted that, but maybe this is one of those cases where law, which was originally Talmud, was interpreted incorrectly during translation, and it now reads Torah. Because that might be something in the Talmud, I'm not sure, but it's not in the Torah. In other words, it's not a command of Elohim, and Paul just can't invent commands at his own discretion. Plus, it would seem that Paul contradicted himself with what he wrote just a couple pages earlier in the same letter to Corinth. Let's read in 1 Corinthians 11, 4-5. Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, brings shame to his head. Every woman praying or prophesying with her head uncovered brings shame to her head. So here Paul is acknowledging that women are going to prophesy. And we know that to prophesy isn't just to foretell the future, as modern religion or modern prophecy movements or clubs would have you believe. That type of activity of just foretelling the future is witchcraft and sorcery. A true prophet brings the words of Elohim to the people. Okay? Let's read in Judges 4, 4-5. And Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, was ruling Israel at that time, and she was dwelling under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Beit El in the mountains of Ephraim. And the children of Israel came up to her for right ruling. Now Deborah prophesied a lot of things. Elohim was definitely speaking to her and through her, and she relayed those words of Elohim to the people. That's what made her a prophet. Now, assembly doesn't mean a church, okay? Assembly is a group of people. Remember the verse that says, where 2 or 3 people are gathered or assembled in my name, there I will be in their midst. Doesn't matter if it's 2 or 3 people or 2 or 3,000 people. It's still an assembly, whether it's a big one or whether it's a little one. The assembly came to Deborah, and she spoke to them. She prophesied to them, okay? Now, if she was tasked with speaking the words of Elohim to the people, that would be kind of hard for her to do if she was to keep silent in the assembly, wouldn't you think? Let's read a few more verses about women who are prophets. Isaiah 8:3. And I went to the prophetess, and she conceived and bore a son, and Yahuwah said to me, call his name Maher-shalal-Hash-Baz. Okay, this was Isaiah's wife. How do we know Isaiah's wife was a prophetess? Well, nowhere else in Scripture does it refer to the wife of a prophet as a prophetess, so we know she must have been one in her own right, okay? 2 Kings 22, 14-15. Then Hilkiah the priest, and Achikam, and Akbar, and Shaphan, and Asaiah went to Huldah the prophetess, the wife of Shallum, son of Tikwa, son of Haras, keeper of the wardrobe. Now she was dwelling in Jerusalem in the 2nd quarter, and they spoke with her, and she said to them, Thus said Yahuwah Elohim of Israel, say to the men who sent you to me. So she's getting ready to give the words of Elohim to these men, okay? Let's also read in Acts 21, 8-9. And on the next day we left and came to Caesarea and went into the house of Philip the evangelist, who was one of the 7, and stayed with him. Now this one had 4 maiden daughters who prophesied. So Philip has got himself 4 daughters, and all of them prophesied. So we can easily see the true answer to the question of are women to keep silent in the assemblies is absolutely not. Nothing in the Torah about that, and we can see in the Tanakh with the verses I just read, including in the New Testament, with these 2 verses in Acts 21, there's plenty of women prophets. And I'm sure there's many more than this. This is just what I grabbed for this short video. Okay? Elohim speaks through women just as he does through men. Because if women were not to speak the words of Elohim, if they were to keep silent in the assemblies, then Elohim wouldn't have women prophets, which he clearly does. Okay? So I hope this video answered the question. I think it's plain as day, and I hope it blessed you. So thanks for being a part of Beit Philip Productions. Shalom from all of us here. Everybody be blessed, and have a wonderful day.